Hi and welcome to Skein Studio. My name is Kristen. Hope you're all doing really well. It's been a little while since I spoke to you. I actually had recorded a podcast, I think it was about a week or two ago, but I was editing it and it just wasn't coming together. I started the podcast in the afternoon and that's really a bad time for me because I get very tired after running around all day. So I decided to scrap it and start again. And of course I was going to record a podcast last week, but my mum's birthday came up. She had her 70th birthday here in Coffs Harbour and I had all family up. It was really nice, but yes, it was quite busy, so I just couldn't fit it in. But anyway, I have lots of stuff to show you. I've got quite a few finished objects and a few whips and some yarn. So yeah, let's get into it. I also wanted to mention the studio. We've pretty much finished the front room, which is really good. I wanted to mention that if you're in Australia near Coffs Harbour, or if you travel up and down the coast, you will eventually be able to come in and shop at our studio. We've been fixing up the front room to turn it into just a small little studio space shop. We're hoping to open up in a couple of months. We've just got a few things on at the moment, but it's really exciting. I'm still thinking about how I want to set up the shop. It's just going to be very simple, obviously. It's in a warehouse, so it's not retail, but it's sort of like a yarn, what do they call it? A factory outlet kind of deal. But anyway, yeah, so we've painted all the walls and got all the front space ready to go. But yeah, I need to buy a few cupboards and build up a bit of stock. So yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, it won't be until a couple of months, but of course I will let everybody know once it's ready. What else did I want to say? Oh, and we were thinking we'd probably open up for customers to come in on Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, because Monday and Tuesday I'm really busy dyeing yarn, of course. I not usually dye yarn throughout the week, so, but Paul's also really busy during those days packing, so we needed at least one person to be able to hang around in case somebody comes in. So yeah, we sort of figured Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. That might change, but it's looking that way for now. So yes, that's really exciting. Okay, so let's get into the whips. So I'm still working on my DK weight shawl. This is one I started ages ago. I have like tiny bit of work left to do on this, just on the border. This is not a pattern, it's just something I cast on just because I felt like I wanted to knit with this colorway. So here it is. Put it the right way. So yeah, it's very bright. But it's just a basic triangle. It will be a triangular shawl with a fisherman's rib. Well, actually it's a mock fisherman's rib, so it's not, yeah, it's fisherman's rib without it being difficult, if that makes sense, because fisherman's rib you're picking up stitches below. With this, instead of picking up stitches below, you're just knitting in between stitches. Anyway, it makes sort of like a nice chunky rib, and on the other side it sort of looks a bit like brioche. So you could reverse this any which way you want. I had 3 skeins of yarn. This is our Voyage DK. Yes, Voyage DK. And this is in our sunrise colour. And I had 3 different skeins and I wanted to use up all the yarn. So I knit the first 2 skeins completely that's the body of the shawl, and then for the third skein I attached it and I started the border. So once this is almost finished, I'm going to bind off, and yeah, then I have a shawl. I'm not, you know, this is sort of like a sit in bed and read shawl, or a sit on the couch and knit and watch telly shawl. It's not really going out, but it was fun. It's just fun to have something really simple just to knit on, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying it. So that's that, and no, I won't be putting out the pattern because it's just, I mean, there's no point. It's basic shawl. The next whip is one that I've been working on for a while. This is the Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry, and I'm using our worsted, winter worsted, and this is in the Close to Me colorway. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So you knit this inside out because you have the purl side facing out when you finish. So let me have a look. That's it there. So you have these slip stitches that run up the front. The thing that I messed up, and I didn't think about this until I was uploading the last podcast, was I am alternating skeins, and I wasn't thinking about the fact that this will be worn inside out. So I was carrying the two skeins up the side of the jumper. So there you can see it created a bit of a line, which, you know, doesn't really matter. It's only just a tiny little section of it. So what I ended up doing was switching the way I alternate skeins, and I actually have, I'm pretty sure the video is still up there, but I had a video on how to do this, and you don't get that line. It's actually pretty seamless. Like once you block it out, you can't really see that you've alternated skeins on the side there. All you're doing is you're just bringing the working strand when you go to swap over to the front, and then you pick up the strand at the back and you keep knitting around. Then when you come to the end of the row, you put the working strand to the front, you bring the other strand that you've put at the front that's been sitting there to the back, and then you knit across. So it's really easy to do. Yeah, and I think it does look neater, and I also think that that method stops you getting that pull, because sometimes it's hard when you're alternating skeins, when you're just crossing them at the back. You tend to pull the yarn quite tightly, like the yarn that you pick up, and then that pinches in the stitch and it looks a bit odd. But this way, I find normally you can't even tell on the outside. Where is it? Here. It looks normal. So yeah, I don't know why I was doing it the other way. I guess felt like doing it that way, because I usually do it the other method where I bring the strand to the front. But anyway, it's knitting up really nicely. The colours I'm really happy with. I was really keen when I came up with this colorway to try knitting it, because I thought it would probably knit up and not pull, which I don't think it would pull. I mean, I always alternate skeins in like jumpers. Shawls I don't usually worry, but when it's a garment, I do like the colour to be evenly distributed. So I wouldn't have attempted to do this in one skein and then swapping over, because you just never know. Normally, you know, in a dye batch you can get pretty even skeins, but yeah, it can happen where one's a little bit lighter, and you can see that if you knit it up into a jumper, and you all know that anyway. But so yes, it's coming together nicely. I like it. It's going to be lovely and warm when I finish, and I I don't think I have anything else to say about this. Just that it's really good. I mean, there's 1,000,000,001 stitches, which means the rows are very, very long. But it is nice to just sit down and relax and knit on it. And honestly, if I'm watching a movie or if I'm watching podcasts, I can get a lot of knitting done if it's just straight knitting. So yeah, it's good for that. Yeah, and I think you get to 14 inches for the body. I think I'm up to about 10, so I've got another 4 inches to go. And then you start separating the body. Or you start doing something a bit different. I haven't really read much further of the pattern, which is bad. I should, but I'm just taking it as it comes. Alright, so that's the weekender. I'm still working on the Hitchhiker Shawl by Locatelli. I haven't worked on that much, so I'm not going to show you that, but I am keen to get that done because that's a great shawl to have now. It's actually, today is the last day of autumn, so tomorrow is the first day of winter and it is cold now. I'm so happy that it's changed. I love summer, but here north in Australia, and of course it's not as bad as far north, but we're in subtropical climate, so we get a lot of humidity. I know Cairns further up, they have like an incredible amount of humidity, but it's just, that's what really is so draining, and you just get so sick of it. It's just awful. You're just walking around the house and it's like sweating and hot. So yes, to have that humidity go, oh, it's so nice. It's just so nice. Anyway, and of course I can wear my knitwear. So yes, that Hitchhiker, I need to get that off the needles. Actually, I might work on that this afternoon. I did also cast on a new pair of socks. So when I went to Sydney earlier in the year, it was Paul's and my 20th anniversary, which is amazing. We've never married, but we always take our anniversary from the day we met. So we met 20 years ago. It was in March. And around that time, a band that we both like, Jesus and Mary Chain, came to Australia. They played at the Opera House. So we shouted ourselves an anniversary gift. We went to Sydney and we watched the band. It was a great night, had dinner out. It was really, really nice. And I also got to go to Morris & Sons. I think I might have spoken about this already, but I picked up quite a lot of sock yarn, and I don't know what I've done with the ball band, which is really annoying. So this is one that I picked up for myself. I've got one for Paul, which I'm going to start soon, but I just finished his socks, so it's my turn now. Isn't that cute? So I'm really sorry, I don't know what I've done with the ball band. I know this is an opal. Is it? Yes, I'm pretty sure it's an opal sock. And that's it there. So it's lots of this lovely rich brown, and then you've got the stripy kind of faux Fair Isle thing happening. I love working on these socks. I love working on commercial yarn. I mean, I really love hand-dyed yarn. It's my favourite of all favourites, but there's just something candy-like about this this yarn. I mean, it's really affordable and it makes great socks. I mean, they wear so well. It's not, like, obviously not soft. As you all know, you've probably worked with opal, but yeah, it's just such good knitting yarn and good wearing yarn, and I really enjoy it. I love seeing how they knit up. And this is one of those perfect yarns, perfect. So you've got the yellow strand. There was one on the outside, but I stuffed up. I started on the outside, but you should start on the inside first. And it's where you've got the 2 yellow strands. So you pull out the yellow bit, cut it off, and then start knitting until you get to, hang on. Yeah, you knit the leg until you get to a certain part part of the sock, I think, when it goes back to the brown, and then you start knitting the heel, and then you move on to the foot, and of course you just knit the foot for as long as you need to. And then with the second sock, you start on the outside. So this had the yellow yarn wrapped around it, so you pull that out and then cut it off, and then you start the second sock, so that when you've got both socks together, they're exactly the same. They match perfectly. So perfectly. So yeah, that's fun. And of course I started knitting on this when we were watching Game of Thrones, which has finished, and we've been watching Game of Thrones since it started like 6 years ago or something. And I needed a project that I could just knit. I mean, it was crazy. I won't say anything in case people are still catching up, but yes, it was so good, and sad that it ended. But yeah. I also cast on something new, which I spoke about in the last podcast. It's the, I don't have a picture. It's the Party Top by AbbyeKnits. I'll just get the picture up. So that's it. Oops. So just a simple little raglan top, which is cropped and has a very simple eyelet pattern on the sleeves, and it's knit in a DK weight yarn. You only, for my size, you need 3 skeins. I think at the most you need 4 or 5. So it's great. You only need a couple of skeins. I had some yarn at work that we had discontinued. It was a single ply DK, and I dyed it up into it was actually I was using it just to dye up a colour that I had come up with, just to see how it would work on like a on a bigger quantity of yarn. And this is the Passion colourway. This is how much I've done so far, which is quite a lot. Now, I started this and it looks tiny, 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 but I think it's because this is a negative ease. I think this is 2 inches negative ease or thereabouts. And I'm so used to knitting boxy, larger projects that when I was knitting this up, I was like, oh my God, that's so small. But it's actually meant to fit tight. So, and I have tried it on, it does fit. So yeah, so this is it. I am currently up to the rib, just started that last night. So this will fit to, I'm going to knit the rib, I'm going to do about 3 inches, so it will just come to the top of my jeans, which is great. I was also a little bit worried. I was wanting to make the body just a tiny bit longer, but all I have left is this for the body, and then I've got 1 skein more for the sleeves. So I just was a bit worried that I was going to run out of yarn. But yeah, I think the length that I've done is okay, and if I can do the ribbing out of these, which should give me about 3 inches, and then do the sleeves with that 1 skein, because the sleeves are only 3/4, so I'm hoping that'll be enough. I mean, DK, it's thick, but it does seem to last, so I hope it works. I don't have any more yarn if it doesn't, so I'll make it work. I also noticed that AbbyeKnits, who is the designer, has brought out, this one's called the Party Top. There was a new pattern that came out yesterday or the day before called, oh God, the Floral Top, or it's basically this, but with the sleeves are in a different colour, and it's really, really pretty. And it would be really nice and simple, so if you're not used to knitting a sweaters, or you're new to sweater knitting, this would be good, and the one that she's just put out would be good because it's just basic, and you have a little bit of detail on the sleeves. So yeah, don't really have anything else to say, just that it's knitted up so quickly. I just can't believe it. it's going to be good. Can't wait to get it finished. So that's pretty much all of my whips. Yep. I have a couple of finished objects. I have, well, I'll start with the big one first. I finished the Soldotna crop. This is the pattern by Caitlin Hunter. This is it here. So nice. I took my time with this one. It took a couple of months, I think, but okay, so I'm not really good with colour work. I really enjoy it, but I'm not very fast, and I sort of need headspace to sit down and look at the charts and to think about what I'm doing. It's not really something I can do while I'm watching TV because I lose count and I stuff it up. So, and I don't mind, like I actually quite like having just some peace and quiet and just sitting there and knitting and taking my time. So I really enjoyed this. The only issue is the very top of the yoke. There's a good example there. You can see it's very tight, the colour work, and I found this when I knit the Sunset Highway. Because I'm a really tight knitter, and I did the same thing. I started the yoke and I was pulling the floats too tight, and then I realised, and then I loosened up and the rest was fine. I started this off thinking, okay, keep the floats loose, keep the floats loose, and somehow I think it's because the cable that I had it on was too long and I couldn't knit it completely in the round. I had to do magic loop, so I stuffed up, and the top of the yoke's not great. I mean, I'm still happy with it, but I kind of wish that it was looser. And I can't cut the floats at the back because they're too tight. But anyway, lesson learned, I need to get some smaller cables. But apart from that, once I finished that top colourwork section, then I realised what I was doing, and I think I had enough stitches then to put it all on one cable and I was fine. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the rest of the colourwork. It was really fun. I did make it slightly longer than the pattern suggests, and I wish I could have made it a little bit longer again, but I was running out of yarn, so I just had to stop and do this hem section. Yeah, unfortunately, I think, okay, so I wore it with jeans. And if I'm not careful, it rides up at the front, and then you can see the shirt underneath, which isn't, I mean, it's not a huge big deal. But if I wore this with a dress, it would be perfect because it wouldn't matter. So I am going to have a look at some dress patterns because I haven't been sewing. So this is a good time to look at some dress patterns and see if I can find something and maybe make something really simple to go with my Soldotna, and then I'll be set. But yeah, lovely pattern. I would knit this again in a heartbeat. I love it. I mean, her patterns are always amazing. Anything else about this? I don't think so. I think that's everything. Oh, it was a little bit tighter than Caitlin Hunter's original, and it's tighter than what is written on the pattern, but my gauge was less. Yes, I had less stitches than the gauge, is that right? Yes, because it was tighter. And that was just simply because I didn't gauge swatch. I just started knitting it, and I was happy because I thought, well, if it's a little bit tighter, it's a little bit tighter. But it's probably got about an inch of ease, so that's not too bad. As long as the sleeves fit, which they're really comfortable, I was happy. So yeah, I think that is it for that one. So the last finished object is the Kahurangi Cowl by AbbyeKnits. That's it there. And this is it. It's really simple, really easy. I think this took me, I don't know, 3 nights to knit. I love that lace work, and of course I had to copy the designer and put a tassel on the end. Yeah, it's really fun knit. It feels really nice on. Maybe I should put it on. Yeah. As with most cowls, it takes a little bit of zhuzhing to get it right. That's it there. It's very cute. And of course it would be a great little gift because it's just one skein of yarn. I used our El Merino base. This is the colour South Pacific, which has little pops of rust in amongst all the blue. And yeah, it was just really nice to knit. And I also, at the same time that I was knitting this, there was a big discussion going on about pattern pricing. And AbbyeKnits Frenchie had a really good workaround where she has codes for all different financial types. So if you're wanting a pattern and you don't have a lot of money, she has like the pattern for a lot less. Or if you're sort of medium income, she's got like a code and you can get it for a bit cheaper than the original price. And then if you have more money and you can afford it, then you pay for the pattern outright. And I thought that was a really good way of dealing with it. So yeah, kudos to her. There was talk of maybe Ravelry starting to do that, sort of having a sliding scale, so you could price your patterns at a lower price up to a higher price and then have people buy as they could, which I think is a good idea. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, anyway, I really enjoyed this. I've definitely got my eye on a few more of her patterns. There's like 13 pages in this pattern. It's quite intense. Like, it's got all of the instructions that you need, so if you're a new knitter it would be great because it holds your hand through the whole process. So yeah. So what I'm wearing this week is the understated sweater. I don't know why I always forget the name, understated sweater by Locatelli. I finished knitting this a couple of weeks ago. It's a really quick knit. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a boxy, it's pretty much her boxy jumper with a V-neck, and it's beautiful to knit. I thought I could hear a phone, it's alright. Yeah, beautiful to knit, really lovely to wear. All of Hohi's patterns, I find when I finish them, they wear so well. I knit this one in our Blis DK base, and Blis has a little bit of cashmere in it. I actually bought some Blis home to show you guys. So this isn't the same colour obviously, but this is the Blis DK. I've got loads of different colours. So it's a very fine merino. It's a non-superwash and it's 80% merino, 20% cashmere, and it does shed a little bit because cashmere being such a fine fibre does shed. So I have found that wearing this over a black top, I do get a little bit of cashmere coming off onto it, but over time that will disappear. And I really love it. It's just perfect. It fits so well, and it's slightly, I think it's the way that it's been knitted, because you knit from the shoulders down the back, then you pick up and knit from the shoulders down the front, and then you join it all together. and that sort of raises the front up slightly, so it's longer at the back and just a hint shorter at the front. And what I really like about that is that it sort of gives it a little sort of cropped look. Not completely, it's sort of high hip, and for me that works really, really well with my body type. So yeah, I love this. I will definitely knit this again because it's just so wearable. My mum is knitting it. I think I told you we had a little knit along. She's not so much new to knitting, but hasn't had a lot of experience knitting sweaters. So this was quite a challenge for her, and when she was up on the weekend, she brought her knitting with her and showed me, and she'd done like a really good job. She's up to almost finishing the V neck on this, and then she's going to start, I think, joining it in, or you knit a bit longer and then you join it in. So yeah, it's looking fantastic. So yeah, highly recommend this, and I love interpretations. I love every series that they've done. Both her and Vera are great, wonderful designers, and they're just lovely people as well. So yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about this Blis DK just because I think it's quite interesting. So a little bit of a backstory on this yarn was when we started dealing with this mill that we have dealt with since we opened almost 10 years ago, they had a fingering weight yarn that was exactly the same as this. It was 20% cashmere, 80% merino, but I wanted it in a DK weight. So they spun me up a batch and it was lovely, but it wasn't a very strong yarn. So what ended up happening was they contacted me and said they can't spin it anymore because it was breaking on their machines. It was actually a 4-ply and it was quite loosely plied. It was really soft and really beautiful, and it held up well in a jumper, but it didn't have the full strength, particularly going through the milling process. So anyway, what they ended up doing was coming up with a different ply method. Yeah, so this is 1 ply, that whole strand, and then it's basically plied again, so it's it's actually a 6-ply yarn, and that has made the yarn a lot stronger, and it wears so much better. It will still pill because it's got the cashmere in it, and cashmere being a short staple fibre actually will pull out, and you will get that fluffy sort of shedding that you get with cashmere, which as you wear, the more you wear it, the less it'll shed because it will already shed, so it will come out and then it won't shed again. Basically that happens with pilling too. It will pill and pill and pill until it can't pill anymore, so you just got to keep de-pilling until it wears out. But yes, it's a lovely yarn to both dye and to knit with and to wear. I did call it Bliss because it feels like bliss. It's just so incredibly soft. It's actually using what they call it, extra fine merino, so it's the high micron count. So it's the higher the micron count, the smaller the fibre and the softer it is. So as in smaller, I think it's the diameter of the fibre. Anyway, it's beautiful, and it dyes up really nicely. So I actually have put a whole heap of our Blis DK on the shop. That went up today. I've brought all the colours in to show you very quickly. Just a quick peek, that's it there. I've been playing around with different colours and different speckles, and I'm actually really enjoying the sort of subtle colours lately, which that will change. I will bring in a some brighter colours, but yeah, at the moment the softer colours are really doing it for me. Perfect for really anything. Jumpers and shawls. Of course, you do need to be careful when you wash it. It would actually, I have actually washed this yarn in a gentle machine wash. Don't put it in a dryer. Don't, just be very careful. Gentle machine wash on its own, or even if you just hand wash it and spin it dry and dry it flat, it will felt, because I have felted this yarn in the dyeing process. So yeah, and that's another good thing about using yarn like this for jumpers, because if you're adding another ball, you can do this bit splice and splice it together, felt it together, and then there's no ends to weave in, which is perfect. So yeah, it's one of my favourite yarns. So okay, I think that's all for today. You can find me on Instagram as Skein Yarn. I'm on Ravelry as K10. If you need to contact me, you can do so on our website. All links, everything that I talk about, I will put down below. So yeah, you can find whatever I've spoken about. Yeah, hope you're all well. Have a really lovely weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.